Colin. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, we're part of that. Since you mentioned Tairawhiti, I've just got to say how much it has really blessed us with all the help that the churches here in Tairawhiti or in Gisborne, Turanganui have given us. So we were declared the evacuation centre for Gisborne for the civil defence on the on Monday the 20th of February when the storm struck, and that morning we declared a civil defence evacuation centre, and within the 2.5 days of that storm, there was 1,300 people came through our doorway. We worked with the Gisborne District Council, and Red Cross came in. We had other social services in the room, and a testimony of all of that was the fact that those groups that came into the House of Breakthrough were supposed to be on a rotation, but they wouldn't go on the rotation. They just remained in the house. And I suppose another testimony to that was the Ready Relief team. That was the exclusive brethren. They run that. They came into the church and they were just excellent. And in our little debrief before they had to move to Wairoa, where the destruction was just really terrible, they just said they enjoyed the environment. I think it was, a word that came out was that it was loving and it was humanitarian. We went past the processes and all the, what do you call it, all the bureaucratic issues that we faced, and we just looked after the people that came into our evacuation point. And I suppose I'm just giving you a little bit of a look at what we've gone through. So the result or the consequences of what we've suffered here in Gisborne will be rolling on maybe for the next 6, 7, 8 months. And we will still be on call as churches to look after our community. As our Te Hahi followers say of us here in Gisborne, Gisborne is our church. We look after everyone we can in our community as is needed. So that most probably is a good prayer start, maybe just the continuing unity of all the churches here in Tairawhiti, or Turanganui Kiwe, whatever Gisborne, whatever you want to call it, it is all the same place, eh? And so that's where we're at, and I've got to also say that the churches throughout our nation have put their hands up, and they are contributing to the restoration of people here in Tairawhiti. So I suppose we can that would be quite a good prayer point too as well. Our State Highway 35 is the road that connects us all to the East Coast. So the road is stopped at what we call the Three Bridges, which is about a 10 minutes out of Tolaga Bay. So the first bridge, which is number 1, Hikuai bridge, has been totally knocked over. So there's no way you can cross it. So Tokomaru Bay is isolated. Basically, there is a road that has been opened up between Tokomaru Bay and Tapuia, so they've got access to Tapuia. But beyond that, there is restrictions again to get to Ruatoria. So you got Ruatoria, and then you've got Hicks Bay right at the top of us, and so there's restrictions right through there. If you live in Tikitiki and Rangitukia, access around the State Highway 35 beyond the East Coast through Whanau Apanui land or the Bay of Plenty stretch, you're able to go around. So if you've got a trip from Gisborne to Tairawhiti, it is nearly close to 6 hours to get there, from a 2-hour trip to a 6-hour trip. So that's what we're facing. Being able to actually move anything in our East Coast area is difficult, because you're talking about big trucks, and the roads are really, they say that the roads are only usable by anything that's under 12 ton. So 4-wheel drive, you can get into places, but it's real difficult to get out of Gisborne. You got to go through an area called Otoko, which is just before Matawai, and that hill is just slipping all the time. Debris and stuff are coming down on the road. So my wife and I went to Tauranga last Friday. It took us 6 hours to get there. We were lucky because they just said, we got there at 2:30 to get through the road, and they said you'd be lucky to be able to get through by 5:30. But fortunately for us, there was an opening and we got through, but we're held up at the top of Otoko, and so you can't get to Napier from this side. It's just just a problematic. I've got to say that we might have better access to the coast, because one of the Māori corporations have cut a road through their land which bypasses the Hikuai River and the bridged area, and they might get it around there. They said by the end of this month, March, we might have better access, but like I say, it'll be for 4-wheel drive vehicles most probably. So that's what we're facing. All the low areas in Gisborne along the Waimata River, many of those houses were flooded. And as an example, Ferguson Avenue is one of those that were flooded. There was a photo in the Gisborne Herald of all the whiteware that just stretched from one end of that street to the other. So all going to the dump because they had lots of water through them. So the Te Karaka area was an area extremely hit. There would be maybe 80% of the houses in that little village are no longer livable at the moment. And so there's a massive amount of work being done in that area. Wairoa is badly hit, but it's sort of outside our area. Not really, because we have churches here in Gisborne that have churches there in Wairoa, and we're supporting them in their restoration. So we're spreading the love of Christ throughout our district as and when we can. So it's going to be an ongoing thing, and
that's terrific, Lance. You guys, House of Breakthrough and everyone else doing a great job. And we just look, our hearts go out to you guys, really, and to people that are traumatized, people without homes.
Yes.
But we can pray, obviously. But how would you?
Yes, we can.
North of you and Tokomara Bay and all, are they getting ministered to? Are they getting some sort of spiritual help, encouragement, hope?
I'm not. I think they are, because they've got groups of people in those areas that are very Christ focused. So I from what I hear, there is a lot of that stuff is happening. Te Hahi is looking at the opportunity to look at the mental health side of it, and through AOG Church, we will be instigating some social services through the churches to help in those areas, because I think we understand from the stuff that went on in Christchurch that somewhere in here, not right now, but people will start to come to realize the enormity of the situation, and that'll bring depression and all of those issues that they mentally will have to face. So we have just made a decision in regards to that, the Tairawhiti group of churches, 7 churches, and we have a team that will be coming in from outside of our area to help in that area. So we will hopefully we'll get the road open enough around the East Coast to give that support.
Lance, you mentioned before about praying for iwi police and the district council. Would you like to just mention something along those lines? So
in our area, the iwi group from the East Coast is called Te Runanga o Ngāti Pro. So that they've been really helpful. They've been helpful to us because in our first day at the church, they turned up with 150 food parcels to help the people that we were looking after. So that was great. Trotak, Te Runanga o Tūranganui a Kiwa is the iwi group that looks after the area, sort of on the other side. So I'm on this side, on the other side of the Waimata River. So they're in the other half of Gisborne. There's three iwis basically that make up that area. And so they turned up on, I think it was our 3rd day, they turned up with food parcels for the people that we were looking after. So between all of us, we were able to cope with that because our food bank was empty on Tuesday lunchtime. And I was told by our food person, I was there, she said the only thing we had on our shelves was dust. There was nothing in our deep freezers. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deep freezers, big deep freezers, and they were just empty. Nothing on our shelves, not a thing at all. And I can say that on Tuesday lunchtime, a young man turned up looking for food for his family. And we had just got in a box of oranges and the girls had packed 5 in each packet. And I said to him, this is all we got, just oranges. And he said, oh, I'm just so thankful because I haven't had anything to feed my children on for 2 days. And then some lady walked in and just carrying a loaf of bread. So I took it off her and I said, here's a loaf of bread as well. And he just, it's like, he could have fallen, looked like he could have fallen down on his knees and prayed and said, just thank you. He just said thank you as he walked away. And I said, come back tomorrow. I'm sure people will turn up with other bits and pieces. Yep. So am I going too long?
No, you've done well. It's so good to have all this information, Lance.
Yeah, and I suppose our police, they've been, encumbered by all the dumb things that have been going on. And, good on them. We had the police who circled our evacuation center. They did a regular, every sort of 3 to 4 hours, they would just roam in, drive out, roam in, drive out, which, because we were dealing with gang members and people that were just sort of a little bit in a state of whatever their situation was. So we're dealing with all of those. But I've got to say, the love that was expressed by the church and all who helped in the church was extremely terrific. And, you might think we were in abnormal situations, but I think it was normal. It was a normal Christ attitude that was displayed through our church and all those that supported the church. Yeah.
Right.
So we'll pray for them. And the district council,
Yeah, the Gisborne District Council, well, the thing is that they're having to face our water system is down. A cohort of a person that I know said they were working 24-hour shifts, and they're still working 24-hour shifts to try and get our water system back to some normality within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So they're doing 24-hour shifts just to get us there. And So there was, the Gisborne District Council got some responsibility for the roads. So, they've got people on the roads just working long hours up on Otoko Hill from 9 p.m. at night to 4 a.m. in the morning. They close the road and they just work their way through there. So Gisborne District Council are facing lots of things. The costs that they have to meet are just huge. So, how have they done in all of this? They've done okay. There's been some pluses and minuses, but thank God for all the churches that have just stood up and said, okay, we'll bypass the processes, we'll look after the people. And and that's how it's gone. Red Cross is another one that came into our, and I didn't know nothing about the Red Cross, but man, they were a tremendous group, eh? They just lived in our church and they just roamed around the district doing all that they could.